let's see then. Okay. Banned a player for this add-on. Okay.
People have asked me about when I'm going to come back to Final Fantasy. I'm going to come back and play Final Fantasy whenever the Johnny Depp trial is over. That's when it's going to happen. So,
Amen.
Final Fantasy.
Bro, honestly, the Johnny Depp trial, honestly, like, I don't have time to watch it. I can probably watch the highlights. I just really don't have time to watch the whole trial. I'm not even at home throughout the day. I'm working like 6 to 3 p.m. 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. I have like maybe 2-3 hours of like maybe try and play a video game, do some daily stuff, and I go to sleep, wake up, go to the gym, and again. So it's like it's really hard to like do that. But yeah, anyways.
Raiders gets banned live on stream as part of recent crackdown by Square Enix on third-party tools. Let's take a look at this, because obviously this has been a crazy.
And we all know why. It's not any add-on except this one right here. This is the add-on. That is the problem.
Thing. Here we go. What about 2-hour Mad Season video? We're gonna watch that tomorrow. Here we go.
Go last month.
It's pretty good.
You can't see it now because of the chat though. His chat is blocking the add-on.
Yep.
But if you can like look, there's like something behind the chat. That's the DPS meter. That's Moppy right there.
Clearing right now. That's both of them. He got the.
Okay, this blade is actually not too bad.
I can't target the other one.
Oh my god. You can target the
Oh no!
Where you are? Yeah, I can't.
Oh whoa! Wait!
He just pressed tab.
Hold up! Wait a minute!
Yeah, I'm clicking on pressing tab. I can't target him at all.
Hold up!
Turn off my stream. I don't think I should stream this.
Hold up!
Wait, what happened?
I'm in jail.
Are you really?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, you got
What
put out.
What?
You just got put in jail.
I think I might be
Yeah,
gone.
I
Yeah,
told
it's
you.
bad.
Oh shit!
There he is.
Oh my god.
There he is.
And I wish he would keep
Bro, like,
streaming.
I like how he
Yeah.
appears out of fucking nowhere. Like, it's actually kind of scary.
Go last.
And
Look
it's
at that, dude. I'm not sure exactly like what add-on he had, but like I think this isn't this isn't normal for sure. And
Death
I guess,
recap,
yeah,
I don't
this
think that's a big of a
down
deal.
Here, yeah, this isn't fucking.
ACT.
Yeah, bottom right. I see it's right there.
Yeah, Moppy
I wasn't
Moppy.
even paying attention. I thought that was a scream overlay for a second. So yeah,
Technically
it's
is.
the
Moppy Moppy
add-on.
is
So
technically.
this guy got suspended for the add-on, and
I must say his UI is
that's
decently
quite
clean
loud.
though.
Let me turn this down a bit. Okay, there we go. It was all because of ACT. They have an add-on to call out the
Yep.
mechanics. Watch the Xeno video about it. Yeah, I will in a minute. I'll talk about it. I'll give like my general opinion about this.
Is he watching the Xeno video after?
Then I'll go from there, right? And I saw
Because
that.
I have the Xeno
read this,
video.
and look at what
Yeah.
they fucking post.
I have the Xeno video coming
Look
up
at what
as well.
they fucking post about this shit. Plus 2-hour Asmon intro. Can you fucking believe this? Can you fucking believe this? Like, this is that's the main comment about this whole thing is, oh, now it's going to be 2 more hours into the intro. And guess what? Now it's going to be 2.5 because I'm going to talk about your comment. That's it. Yeah, it's okay.
Basically, yeah.
Listen, guys, it's what I like to do. I love sitting around talking about shit, man. I find it to be quite
Let's move this
surprising
along.
that so many people tune in and they just watch me talk about fucking it. Like, go on, like, who the fuck watches a 6-hour rant? I mean, like, every day.
Basically.
Like, I mean, every day, but like,
Honestly,
millions of people.
honestly, I have no idea how people watch his rants like that long. I watch highlights mostly, and like right now I'm doing reacts, so sure I'm watching it, but it's like I can't go on Twitch and like watch like almost any stream. I honestly wish more streamers would just actually play the game and show me something cool, and like, but it's like most streamers, and like the thing is when Asmongold plays a game, he shows only the good parts of the game. Doesn't show the grinds, doesn't show like the travels. He's like he prepared the best part of the game for the stream, and I think, or like unless it's a game that has like it's instantly like Alta 4 was actually a good stream game, and like the vampire stuff is a good stream game and stuff like that, because like it's you're always doing something. But like watching someone play, let's say Final Fantasy, bro, unless it's a story moment, unless it's like a good moment, I was like, yo man, I'll wait. I'll come back in half an hour. He'll probably be closer or around there, and then I'll be able to gauge how close he is. Right? It's like I don't know how people just stay there, and watch for hours. Like, bro, how do you do that? It's insane. And again, and when the thing is, people tell me, people say that it's like, well, you're here for the streamer, yeah, but it's like it's also like the interaction with other people. Here, watch this. Watch how fast the stream goes.
Listen, guys, it's what I like to do. I love sitting around talking about.
Who the fuck are you gonna interact with that fast? I could barely read 3 lines there.
Shit, man. I find it to be quite surprising that so many people tune in and they just watch me talk about. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this.
Yes.
I think that there is a huge difference between an add-on that changes lighting, an add-on that adds. I think chat bubbles is probably the best example of this. Is like having chat bubble.
Yeah, we've been over this.
Figure out what's going on. Why is it hard to figure out what's going on? And also a failure on the player's part to be able to adapt and understand mechanics. And I think add-ons in another part can be the failure on the developer's part in order to make mechanics easy to understand and intuitive. So
I want to get to this point, but I want to make sure I get all the context because I am kind of in disagreement with him here.
Between an add-on that changes
chat bubbles,
an add-on that adds. I think chat bubbles is probably the best example of this. Is like having chat bubbles is just something like, honestly, like Square Enix needs to just put that in the game. Like it's like WoW has that. It's fucking great. I wish Final Fantasy had that. Like chat bubbles would be fucking awesome. I'd love chat bubbles. I think that would just make the game better in general. And so hopefully they're able to do that.
Get to the point.
That, having add-ons that help you figure out what's going on in the raid. I think that you have to come at this from 2 different perspectives. You have to look at it from the perspective of why is it hard to figure out what's going on, and also why do you need an add-on to do it?
So, I agree and disagree. If a mechanic, when it's multiple mechanics, I can see why it's gonna be really hard to figure out what's going on, and like there's a lot of chaos happening at the same time, and that could be like not so much a necessity, but it's like you might as well have an add-on because like it's too chaotic. When it's one mechanic, when it is pretty much only one mechanic at a time in Final Fantasy, there's absolutely, in my opinion, no reason to have add-ons. Okay, so even if a mechanic is really hard, as long as it's like there's a limit of like how doable it is, right? It's like if it's like really, really hard to do, like fucking super hard to understand what even the mechanic does, then yeah, like that's too hard. But if it's more like you know what the mechanic does, you can understand what the mechanic does, but it's hard to get to a position and react to it fast enough, that's on the player. And I think being ready for the mechanic is part of skill. Expecting a mechanic to happen is part of a player's skill. And I would say expecting mechanics to happen on you is something that, like, if we will take World of Warcraft for example, because that's what I'm most familiar with, that's the biggest difference between a mythic player and a heroic player. A mythic raider expects to do mechanics like all the time. A heroic player can probably get away with not doing some of them.
You see what I'm saying? So like I think that add-ons are
on
in
most
some
bosses
cases a failure on the player's part to be able to adapt and understand mechanics, and I think add-ons in another part can be the failure on the developer's part in order to make mechanics easy to understand and intuitive. So both of these things are true simultaneously. So where in the middle do you land with like Final Fantasy? I haven't done this fucking fight.
Yes, I agree. So basically saying kind of what I was saying, there's a limit of like how hard a mechanic can be versus how much do you actually need to be using add-ons. Right, in my opinion, there's a certain limit, right? It's like if a mechanic is not only is it too hard to understand what it is, it's too confusing, and it's like you're not even sure. Like let's say a mechanic does like 3 random orbs will fall on the ground at random, different locations all the time, and you only have like half a second to see where they are. It's like not something a human can do. But if the add-on will tell us like this is where they're gonna drop this time, okay, I'm going there. Yeah, you would need a fucking add-on for that, especially if there's other shit happening at the same time.
So I don't know. But what I do know is that in a lot of the fights in Final Fantasy, generally things are relatively well telegraphed. But for me at least, sometimes it can be hard to know why something went wrong. And maybe this is just me being a new player, but I think there's a lot of people that are like me, and I don't really know what happened because.
So the thing is with this is I would say the biggest criticism I have for Final Fantasy, and he is, I do agree with him on that. When it's hard to tell what went wrong, the game needs a death recap, and the other thing is better visualization on casting or debuffs. So for example, and this is like the easiest one, like it's like a super easy mechanic, the Doom mechanic in World of Darkness. When I was a new player, first of all, I've never experienced Doom mechanic type thing in WoW as far as I know. Maybe there's like, I'm sure there's mechanics that are similar, but like straight out just like death without knowing what it is. Like until someone explained to me like on my third WAD thing, when someone says like look away from the eye when you see the eye because it will put doom on you, and the only way to remove the doom is to step on those like glowing shits. The game really doesn't teach you. Now it does because there are other bosses that like have that before you get to World of Darkness, or something like that. But at that point, it's like I couldn't see the debuff. Okay, I couldn't see the debuff. I died without knowing what it is, and honestly, I barely saw the eye on the boss. Like literally, when I heard about the eye on the boss, I was like having my like the boss so low on my screen, so I could actually like he was like right here. Well, you can't see. Pretend this is the bottom. This is the bottom of my screen. This is where the boss was, so I couldn't see his eye, even though the eye was like pretty much on him. But I was not aware of this at all, right? So it's like, yeah. I think the game does need to telegraph certain abilities or debuffs a lot better, for sure.
Because you don't really have an adventure journal. There's not as much data mining like Wowhead has, so it's
Yes.
harder to find information about the game in the same way that it was
Yes.
with Warcraft, or at least maybe it is for me. And
I think the journal is actually a really good thing that WoW has. Not so much the data mining, not so much the PTR public testing that people are watching, like how to do bosses and like all the guides you get before the boss is actually out. But knowing ability names and what they do, I think is fine. Even if it's like an arbitrary explanation, or it's like, well, 3 beams will come out targeting, doesn't even say if they're targeting, 3 beams will come out. And it's up to you to like figure out what happens in beams, right? Something like that. But it's like I think a journal is actually not a bad thing, because right now you see this fight, eventually a player is going to make a guide and he will essentially have a journal of the abilities.
I think that's the way many people feel that way. Heavensward? Well, that's a good point, right? So, like, if I'm having this trouble with Heavensward, then I think it would be the same case with fights in the future that are more complex as well, right? I think that would just make sense. So,
Yeah.
anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of these mechanics, it gets better. Yes, I'm sure the fights get easier. Shut up, chat. Yeah, no, not really. No dynamite, no, old fights were garbage to show you what you did wrong. Maybe that's true, right? Maybe that's true. But I do think that there will probably be mechanics that are hard to understand in later on fights too.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I don't know why. It's like every time that I make a comment on this, I make an obvious comment. I say something like, "Fights will probably get harder in the future." People say, "Oh, you don't know. You only did Heavensward." No, of course, because that's the way the game is. I've had.
There's this boss in. It's actually the end of Heavensward. It's the Sloppy dungeon. There's a boss there. Is it that one? No, it's actually in Stormblood. There's a boss that has an ability. I still don't know what it's called, and he drops 3 different rings around the. So let's say this is the circle, right? It's like, let's say, okay, this is the circle, right? Inside the video, there's a circle, and drops a ring right here, a ring right here, and a ring right here. Okay, and one of them is lightning, one is fire, and one is like ice, I think. And you need to know which ring to go into. Now, first of all, apparently there's 2 indicators. One is his debuff, which I never saw. The other is he actually says what his ability is. So if he says like a lightning ice sword or whatever, like his ability is going to be lightning ice, you have to go and stand fire or some shit like that, right? That's the one that isn't. But how do you know this? And like literally, I've killed that boss so many times, and I've gotten hit by that. I would say, well, I only found out about how to deal with this ability 4 days ago. Let's just say this, and I've been playing since June last year or July or something. No, yeah, June of last year. I'm pretty sure around that, like 2 weeks before the massive wave happened. Since then, I didn't know what the ability does. I just knew I didn't care because I could survive. But if a similar ability happened later, I would really need something to tell me what it is.
Hundreds of people tell me this. It's common sense that it works that way. And so anyway, yes, obviously some mechanics are hard to understand. And so
Yes.
if a mechanic is hard to understand, is this a failure of the developer, or is this a failure of the what do you call it? Is it a failure of the developer, or is it a failure of the player? And I think that in many cases it's both. I think that in some cases you have
It is.
You have a case where like
It is, but I would
mechanic is-
say
you
it's
don't
like
really
70-30. 70% is hard. The mechanic is hard to understand because of the developer. 30% is from how because the player.
know what the fuck is going on, and it's like
It has
you
to
just
be a
die
lot
and that's
easier
it.
to understand.
And like, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to handle this? It's hard to really know.
Look, don't
based
forget,
off
like a lot of like Mythic Prog and like stuff like that, World First. Most of the fight, aside from like them being under gear and shit, most of the fight and like looking for how to cheese certain mechanics, most of the fight usually is figuring out the boss mechanics and the strategy to go along with those mechanics. Once you figure that out, the boss pretty much goes down that day or like the next day, right? That's for like the top raiders. For normal raiders, they already know the mechanics and they just suck, so that's how it is.
the tools that the game gives you inside of the game that you should understand intuitively. Because I think that you should be able to figure things out intuitively, even in harder fights, even though it might be more complex to do so.
Intuitively means that you had practice runs with something else. Intuitively means is, let's say, the World of Darkness Doom mechanic would be intuitive if you knew about Doom beforehand and if you knew about the eye thing beforehand. As far as I know, WoD was the first time I saw that mechanic and a combination of the two.
So, in general, what do I think about add-ons? I think the game would be better for Warcraft, I've said this, and I think also with Final Fantasy, if people did not have add-ons that told them how to play the fight.
Yes.
Period. I think that it's like any awareness add-ons or anything like that. I think that a problem with awareness or knowing what's going on or something like that, this
makes
is
you less aware.
a failure either of the player or is a failure of
the biggest problem with awareness add-ons is that it actually makes you less aware. It's kind of like it builds a dependency. Like you're dependent on this add-on, and so it's like if let's say there's a new patch coming out, you actually can't play for a few days until the update for the add-on comes out because like you literally cannot play the game at all.
Of the developer to make whatever is happening easy to understand. What about a DPS tracker? So here's why people don't have here's why DPS trackers are a double-edged sword. And I think that World of Warcraft plays
it's
a
good and bad.
into this. And Ashes of Creation
it's good
is
and
not
bad.
having a DPS meter.
Amen.
And I will explain why I think that's a good idea. So the reason why I think it's a good idea that Ashes of Creation does not have a DPS meter is because of the fact that they have legitimate, actual, that they have like actual legitimate, what's it called?
I don't know, but before he goes to like why it's good or bad, I want to give my point and then see if he's actually the smart man that I think he is. It's like, who am I to say, but whatever. I think DPS meters are good. I said in the previous video, DPS meters are good for checking who is pulling the group down, seeing where you can do, like in your rotation, where you can use your burst window a bit better. But I would say the fight usually tells you that a lot better than your DPS meter. And then also to what do you call it? Okay, let me get back to it. Okay, tell you if a player is pulling the group down. Show you where in your rotation you could do better, which is like a very minor thing, and also no, that's pretty much it. Like the second one kind of is very general, so it's like it kind of hits that point too. But basically, it's like knowing where to save your cooldowns for some mechanics and having your DPS show that this saving it for that point was better. In my opinion, this is very minor. Some people think this is like so important. In my opinion, if you know your fucking class, you know when to use your abilities. If there's an AoE phase and you're strong on AoE, you're gonna save your cooldowns for AoE or time them enough so that they will be back up for when the ads come out, and try to time your cooldowns as much as you can for ad phase. For example, if there's no ad phase, usually it's like make sure that when you hit your abilities, the boss doesn't go invulnerable. That just means knowing the fight. So like the second ability about DPS meter, the second thing about DPS meters is not even that relevant because like once you know the fight, you know where to use the cooldowns. The only thing is like beating certain DPS checks on bosses is important, but that goes more towards the first point, and it's like who is bringing the group down in terms of DPS. Why aren't we meeting the DPS check? Well, if you have somebody who's doing like 2000 DPS while everyone's doing 6000, that's probably the reason why. But that's as far as like why is it good. Why is it bad? People care too much about DPS. People care too much about parsing, which comes from the DPS meters. And people also greed sometimes, a lot of times, while using a DPS meter in order to get higher DPS and higher parse at the cost of other people dying or wiping the raid. Kind of like what Asmongold was doing before.
Support classes. So whenever you have a real legitimate support class, you're going to have actual disparities in DPS. And it's much harder to judge a support class's damage and a support class's value whenever you don't have a number associated with it like everything else.
Okay, that's
so,
what
like,
Ash's question is going to have. Okay, that's fair enough. It's like PI for
but it adds literally
priests.
nothing to the raid. Because who the fuck would get the red dust buff to help the raid? Fuck the raid. I want this stuff myself. I'm there for me, right? Stagger, yeah, fuck that. Yeah, I'm there for my own stuff. And Stagger, I think that Artoris has a better Stagger than Berserker, but I could be wrong. The only thing that I'm really trying to say here is that whenever you have that type of a disparity, it creates a lot of misconceptions in the mind of players. And I think that's what the biggest issue is with something like a damage meter. And I think with Final Fantasy has like a overall policy of no add-ons, period. And I'll read their post about this, but they have an overall policy of just don't use add-ons. So if you're using a damage meter is an add-on. Now, is a damage meter a worse type of add-on? In my opinion, I think a damage meter is not really that bad. I think that a damage meter is like just any other tool. It can be used to be a weapon, or it can be used to build a house. It's the same thing as
the problem is, here's the biggest problem with DPS meters. So in my opinion, I don't think Final Fantasy devs have a way to determine who is using which add-on. They just have like, oh, this guy's using add-ons or not. However, this is the biggest problem with like why streamers are getting banned for DPS meters, because it's basically, it promotes their ego. I said on the different video, it promotes their ego. It shows that they're better than others. And also it can create a toxic mentality around the people who are watching it, and also advertises that people should use it. It basically creates a culture around this add-on. And it's like people would naturally be like, oh, he's doing X amount of damage on this boss as this class. Well, I can probably do more. Here, let me show you. And then you make a stream or whatever, and you post your DPS that you did higher than him, even if the group died at whatever same point, doesn't matter. Right? And it's just like it becomes like this dick measuring competition that the devs probably don't want in their game.
A hammer or a saw.
It's just an ego. It's an ego thing.
So I don't think damage meters are fundamentally bad, because Final Fantasy doesn't have as many classes that are built around just like being pure supports. Like, yes, obviously there's a disparity between, I would probably assume a machinist DPS and a black mage's DPS, for example, right?
Yes.
I'm sure there's a disparity between the two, but the disparity is not as massive, and they don't have some gigantic fucking difference between them. I looked at the parses, and there is a difference, but it's not huge, as I said before. It creates metas. Yes, it does create metas. So that's probably why, that's why it would be an issue. But Final Fantasy doesn't really have like pure support classes that do like half and half, like half healing, half damage, or half support and half damage. So they don't really have the same problem that Ash's creation will run into. But I don't think that you necessarily need a DPS meter in all cases, as long as you know that everybody's trying to perform well. However, I think that it is necessary. It should be a tool that people are able to use if they choose to. Does that make sense? So I think people should be able to choose to use that in a game like Final Fantasy, sure. But if they don't want to, it's not really that big of a deal. For self-improvement, yeah, because there's a lot of people, like you always hear about the people that use, they're like linking to damage meters after every trash pull and saying how good they are. Like, I hate this guy. But most people don't do that, right? It's like you have that one bad experience, and then like everything else.
Everyone does that when they're the top 3 DPS. Usually if they're like number 1 DPS, they would usually post it. I think I had everyone in my raid team, if they were number 1 DPS on wipes, by the way, they would post their number 1. And by the way, I'm at fault for doing it too. It is what it is. But yeah, and I mean, come on, I'm a red paladin when like we're doing like the bottom of the DPS pool, and it's like I'm number 1. Like, come on, guys. You guys suck.
It just never happens that way. Then everyone will choose to. I don't really know. It depends. But yeah, I do think it does become an issue whenever it's required. And it's like Final Fantasy doesn't want to have a situation.
Yeah, the thing is, in my opinion, DPS meter is never required. It has its positives, it has negatives, but I don't think it's required.
Because this is a problem with WoW, is that, and this is something I've said before, there's been a lot of people talking about this on Twitter as well. I saw this, with like people tweeting, like Warcraft players, etc., tweeting about add-ons and should add-ons be removed or not. Here's my take, and here's what I think about add-ons in Warcraft. I think that every add-on is either an unfair advantage or a shortcoming of the game's base UI. So there are advantages that you shouldn't have, and there are also shortcomings of the UI. And every single one falls into 2 categories. So in general, like whenever I think of like LVI or something that tells you where your debuffs are, or something that tells you where your character frame is, or something like that, this is a setback from the UI. The UI should have this as a default feature.
Yes,
that you
I
can
agree.
Move and resize and change this however you want.
Yes.
However, add-ons that, like Ian, remember whenever I did the interview with Ian, he said add-ons that are computational, add-ons that solve the problem for you.
Those are problems. Yeah.
That's not making the game better. That's not helping
DBM
anybody.
Wicaros.
That just gives people an unfair advantage. How would a console version of WoW work without add-ons? I have no idea. I have no idea. There's not a. It's not there. As someone with Asperger's, no UI is made for me. Without add-ons, a fair amount of games hurt my brain. Well, so like, I mean, you could make that argument for whenever you realize you can make that same argument for people that have visual disabilities and for it to call out each ability that happens with like with voice, right? You see what I'm saying? So like you can apply that logic, and if you apply that logic fully, then you're going to have the same problem that we have now.
I still don't think having the abilities voiced out is that big of a deal, as long as the voice out doesn't tell you where to go.
Yeah, you can't
just,
design perfect.
And honestly, in my opinion, knowing the name of the ability can be even more confusing. I don't know names of any abilities almost on any bosses. I just know approximately what he's gonna do. I was like, okay, this is this mechanic. I don't know the name of the ability. But sometimes the name just kind of makes sense to you, which is like not so much like I see what the boss does rather than like knowing the name of the ability.
But it seems fine. What's this? Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Wait, are people not add-ons do help? Blame everything, send me back. Well, you guys see what I'm saying though, right? Okay, apply that logic, support so. Yeah, did you guys see what I'm saying? Sorry, I didn't know if you guys were pushing back on what I said or what he said. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Good. I just want to make sure that we can't have. You cannot design a game that is going to be perfect for everyone, and just because it doesn't fit into somebody's life.
And also, don't forget, if you have an impairment and the only thing you can do is the ultimates, I don't think that's a loss to the game. Like, yeah, okay, it sucks for you, but like we're not gonna like change the game just for like a very minute. And again, life is not fair. I'm sorry, it is what it is. Life is not fucking fair. Some people are not gonna be. Some people like have all the faculties working and they still won't be able to do an ultimate. It's just it is what it is. It's like they don't have the mechanical skills. I don't know what to tell you. Some people can't do what's it called? Can't finish Alt F4. It's like they don't have the patience for it. They don't have the fucking like the nerves for it. Like they just get pissed off on the first death and they quit. Right? Some people don't. Right? It's like we all have our disabilities. Just because you have a medical disability doesn't mean it's like the game has to accommodate you that much, right? If the devs are really against voiced out abilities, I'm sorry. If it only prohibits you from doing like the top tier content that doesn't really matter and it's only cosmetic, fuck it. It's not a big deal. Whatever. Have someone on Discord like voice it out for you. I don't know, man. Like, there's a community. I mean, it sucks, and like I don't mean to be mean, but it's like, yeah, it is what it is. It just fucking sucks. But it's like you can't expect the world to revolve around you because you have a disability. I'm sorry, that's not how the world works.
Doesn't mean that they have the ability to alter it to make it easier because of what they consider a disability. Because like, what do? Do you have to have like, let's think this out, right? So like, let's say every person that has some sort of disorder can download an add-on. Like, how does the company verify this? Why does everybody not say they have this disorder and then download the add-on?
Yeah.
You can't do things that way. Yeah, it just like this immediately falls apart the moment that you actually apply it to real life. It's like one of these things where like Blizzard will come up with this like really interesting system that sounds great in a focus group, and then the moment that it interacts with players, it falls onto the fucking floor and shatters. It's garbage. People's logic is I want this. The game's bad because it doesn't have what I want. Yeah, exactly. So I do think that I do think that add-ons do generally. It creates a tier of player, and it artificially increases player skill. And I think that this is a good way to look at it.
The add-ons that
so you think about
compute.
what is something that. What is cheating? And I think this is a very interesting way to look at it, right? What is cheating?
That's a hard one.
Is cheating something that stock? Right. But like, what would you?
I would say playing the game is the way it wasn't intended is practically cheating.
You say cheating is like if you were to define cheating, what would you say cheating is? Yeah, let me see here. GGG just banned a disable guy for using flash macros. Yeah, because if they don't, then everybody's going to be disabled. That's what's going to happen. Like it's just what's going to happen. I think the problem there is the reason why they had flash macros. Why do you have to keyboard your flasks every time you do a pull? It's obviously fucking stupid. It sucks. It's shit gameplay. The problem, and that's a really great. That is a perfect fucking example of what I was saying before. Right? Is that keyboarding flasks and then grinding gear games. This is in FFXIV. Banning people for flask macros is a perfect example of whenever people use add-ons and use cheats to do something. And I do think that is a fault of the developer.
because
Yes.
the gameplay sucks and people don't want to have to do it. That's all it comes down to. The gameplay is dog shit. I don't want to keyboard flasks every single time. It's annoying. So why is it keep happening like this? So yeah, flask spam is fucking stupid though. Yeah, the new orbs fix it though. Yes, and I know. And there's other things that fix it too. Like you have, I mean, if you're really, really good, you have mage blood, right? That could somehow solve the problem to an extent, right? And just in general, I think that it's something that they do need to fix. I hope that they will fix it much more in Path of Exile too. Like double weaving mods in Final Fantasy 14, fixing dog shit design. Yeah, and so I think that a developer should look at why players are using add-ons, and if the reason why they're using an add-on is to bypass a mechanic that's not fun to play. And if players are using an add-on to bypass a mechanic that's not fun to interact with, why is that mechanic in the game in the first place? And I think that's the way to look at it, and I think that's the most healthy way to look at it.
I mean,
But again,
it is. The problem is when people take the add-ons too far, which is like this. Okay, so for example, there's a mechanic that it's not fun, but it's not fun. You know, it's like it's fine to interact with. But then you make an add-on, and it's like it's a mandatory mechanic, right? I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. But like, let's say it's a mandatory mechanic. It's not the best mechanic. It's not the worst. It's not too bad. Like it's whatever, right? It's like it's fine, whatever. Then someone comes up with an add-on that makes it easier to interact with this mechanic and more fun. That would automatically make that mechanic less fun. So now you took a mechanic that was okay or somewhat fun, made it less fun because there's a more fun way to interact with it, right? So I think a lot of times add-ons would do that, where it's like, let's say this: would the game be fine without add-ons like at all? Yes. But once you know a better way to play the game, or UI and all that stuff, you can't go back to the other one. In your opinion, that other one was a bad mechanic, was a bad UI, was a bad design. But you wouldn't know that until you had a better design in front of you. I would say that's for majority of players, not the modders. The modders obviously have an idea of how to make something better.
With like raids in general, I think what is a cheat? A cheat is something that, in my opinion, gives you an unfair advantage over other players, and it's also something that that increases your power, the power level of your character, extrinsically of the game itself. And like obviously you can make an argument that playing with a higher frame rate is a cheat, but let's just go ahead and not be intellectually dishonest here. And so I do think that add-ons in a big way fall under that category. So for example, whenever you play PUBG, let's say you had a model editor that changed the character model in PUBG, and they made the player characters bright red. That would make them way easier to see, wouldn't it? Like in PUBG, like if you're going around, like let's say you're on the original map, right? And like the character is bright fucking red. Yeah, like the hitbox of the character, bright fucking red. And it would be way easier to see. But everybody would agree that's a cheat, right? Yeah, everybody would agree that is 100% a cheat. They use blue blood. Yeah, they do use blue blood, but that's something that's put into the game. And so if somebody is using that, I feel like having a character editor that changes the color of something, because like really, what does that do? It just makes it easier to see. It just makes it easier to see what's going on in the game. And so
it looks like shit,
the same logic for mechanics in MMOs. But I do think that being able to see if a mechanic is happening and understand what's going on with the mechanic, being able to see it should not be part of the difficulty. I hate that. I hate it in Warcraft whenever I have 7 different pets, 3 different AoEs, 2 different play effects, and my own fucking damage happening, and I can't even see the fucking floor. There's Swirly Boy is underneath, and next thing you know, I'm fucking dead.
Let's be real. Forget the swirlies. Some bosses you can't even see the boss because of all the shit that's happening around the boss. Like if the boss is like your size or slightly bigger, good luck. Good luck fucking seeing the boss. I'm honest. Unless the boss is fucking massive, you're not gonna see it a lot of times because of all the shit, all the pets, all the fucking visual effects and all that shit.
I hate that. Like it should be fucking obvious what to do, and what to do should just be harder to do.
Yep.
Turn off spell effects. Well then what if turning off spell effects makes it harder to see the swirly boys?
Actually, turning off spell effects in WoW actually makes it you can't see some effects of the boss, which actually kills you.
Why is this even an issue? Why are we having any fucking pushback for this? It's fucking stupid.
There's a setting for that, but it's for there was a comment. There's a setting for that, but it's for everyone in general. In Final Fantasy, there's a setting that is like for allies and for enemies. In WoW, it's a general setting.
It does. It absolutely does. Yes, Robus, it's annoying. The same with pets and stuff like that. Anything that I think obscures your vision to be able to understand what's going on in the game generally sucks. So yes. I'll watch the Xeno video and I'll talk about this, but first I want to read some of the comments that people have about this on the Final Fantasy subreddit, okay? And let's see what they're saying. Give me 1 second. Let's pull this up. All right, where is it? Add-ons, don't ask, show, or tell. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Okay, let me go back up there and look at this one. And yeah, there we go. This is, it was a very big thread. I saw this earlier. Xeno, yeah, we'll watch Xeno's video about this very soon, okay? I know a lot of people have been asking me about that, and I will do that. Next swirlies in the Anduin intermission. You can fucking see them because 40 mobs and 20 players are collapsing in 4 meters. Yeah, it's just, in my opinion, I think it's bad design.
Yeah.
Straight up, I think it's fucking bad design. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just that's literally all there is to it, man. And so you should watch this clear. Yeah, we'll look at the other clears and stuff like that afterwards, okay? Zeppo's video, it's a nice contrast. Yeah, we'll watch Zeppo's video as well. Because I do think this is way too long. It's like 30 minutes. We'll watch Zeppo's video and see what else.
There's going to be comments now?
Square issues formal statement reaffirming that add-ons are against TOS and to not promote them or you may get suspended or banned. And let's see here. Is that true? I saw this before. They congratulated they congratulated T. Chat's wrong. Streamers can just hide ACT. I think that just hiding ACT is like, yeah, I think that's what they should do. Yeah, don't ask, don't tell, right? Sure. Anyway, I think that there were other people saying that the streamer didn't actually get legitimately suspended. They only got suspended because they got mass reported. Is that true? I saw this before.
I mean, you're asking the wrong people.
Yeah, so yeah, they got brigaded. I don't really know. Like, I'm not sure how Square Enix handles things, but it seemed very obvious to me that like if somebody is going to go and have this happen, right? If like this is like a real, like this person here is a real person.
Yes.
It's not like this is some automated algorithm that automatically removes your account if you get 17 or more reports within 5 or less minutes, right? So this is obviously a person that made this decision. So regardless of how many people reported him, it could have been one person or it could have been a million people. This person got reported and they got their account actioned because of Square Enix's judgment and not because of a mass report.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
Like whenever somebody
if
gets
there's a GM,
and they get
an actual person,
like
they can actually.
I only consider that I consider that a bad thing usually. It's like the guy. I mean, the guy's breaking the rules, and a bunch of people got together and reported them. Yeah, obviously that's cheesy, and it's like some fucking hallmark shit. Yeah, like I get it. Like I totally get it. It's like it's cheesy, but like he didn't get banned because they mass reported him. He got banned because he did something wrong. You know what I mean? They banned some streamers that use add-ons and didn't ban others that use it too. Well, of course they don't. Of course they don't ban everybody. Duh. Like, no fucking shit, they don't ban everybody. Do you know why? Well, it's like, oh, I wonder why this streamer gets suspended and not the other one. I don't know, maybe because one has 10,000 viewers and the other one has 10. Because they're fucking irrelevant. They don't care about them. They don't even know who they are. Like, that's the truth, right? It's like they can't deal with everybody. That's just the way it goes. The poor streamers, well, this happens all the time, right? Is that you're going to have unequal treatment because it's just, you can't apply this to every single person. No, it's just impossible.
And again, this is clearly to show that Final Fantasy doesn't have a way to determine who is using what add-on. They just have a visual effect, right? So they go and they see, it's like, okay, he's using an add-on, ban him, right? It's like, it's not, they don't have a system in place. They don't have an anti-cheat in the game.
Ban all streamers. Yeah, not every car speeding on the highway gets ticketed. That's true. That's a really good way to say it. Yeah, I like that. Let's read a few more of these posts and then we're going to look at the videos, okay? Like more toxicity comes from the should ACT be a lot of conversation if damage meters were implemented into the game. I don't think they're ever going to implement damage meters into the game, because if they do that, what they run into is like all players just going and playing the class that does the most DPS and then handicapping themselves in the process of doing that. So it's just like you're kind of protecting players from themselves in like a stupid way. I don't like it, but that's the way it goes. You know, they have to balance classes. Well, the problem is that like you can't balance classes for every single fight. So like for example, there are going to be fights that you have 2 targets in. In a fight that you have 2 targets in, it's going to be different than a fight where you have 1 target. In a fight where you have 1 target, it's going to be different than a fight where you have 1 target and there's a damage burst phase. And it's going to be different than whenever you have 1 target and then there's a bunch of targets and then there's only 1 target again after that. So you can never balance every class to perform at the exact same level across all of those variables. It's not going to happen. So just get that out of your head. Let's see. I'm going to look at a few more of these here. People leave bagel toast. Isn't it a big no-no to stream with add-ons or mods? Which is why, to my knowledge, the mods community is very careful about it. Yes. I actually have a personal story about this. So, I did an interview with a certain girl in the modding community in Final Fantasy. And that's right, that kind of modding. This girl told me about a lot of things that I can't forget. And afterwards, people on Twitter, there were a lot of not safe for work Lalafell Twitter accounts that were tweeting at me. I'm going to have to go private. I'm going to make my Twitter private because of you balding, toothless piece of shit. I fucking hate you. Go back to WoW, loser. Fuck you, Baldy. You're ruining our game too? Oh, it wasn't enough to kill one MMO. Now you're trying to kill our game too. I can't believe you, man. And they were pissed. They were so fucking mad. And so anyway, this happened. And like, it's because that they were like, there was always this expectation that like, I think Yoshi P basically said, he's like, listen, I know you guys are some fucked up pervs, but I don't want to see this. Yeah. I don't want to see this. Like, yeah, there it is. There's a point button right there. Gifted subs. Thank you, man. He's like, I don't want to see this. Like, and nobody else does either. So quit posting about it. Just do it in your basement and keep it there. Yeah. And I think that was pretty fair. That's like the most fair thing he could say. And apparently, like, he was really disappointed. And like, it was just like, you know, it's like your dad whenever he finds out that you've been, you know, this one's. That's like basically what it is. Yeah. Jerking off to a donkey show, right? And you know, it's like, what's that conversation like? What's his tone? How does he talk to you about that
I
problem?
just
right?
don't want to
And
know
so,
about it.
He's just disappointed. Oh, what? Don't look it up. Well, actually, you don't need to. You already saw it. You saw it on Force and Stream. And so anyway, yeah, you saw that. It's on Force and Stream. So like, that's what it was. And so that's the tone that I heard that he had about it. And Hilton, thanks for the gifted subs too. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And so this kind of stuff happens, and I think it was, yeah, keep it to your fucking self. So we'll look at the Zeppela video about this, and we'll see what she had to say. Okay, and I know that they made a big post about this as well. It's like they opened a can of worms, and people began report wars, which is probably the worst thing that can happen. And the thing that they exactly want to avoid, never they were being so vague about third-party tools in the first place. They have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you understand? Like, they have to. They have to remove. They have to report the game. And here's.
Well, the thing is, the only reason it's such a big can of worms because of the massive migration of people from last year, and now you have way too many people using add-ons, and the add-on community got bigger because more people started using add-ons. Then the add-on guys starting to be a bit more creative in what they're allowing themselves to make, right? Especially because like some of these add-on guys do have like, hey, if you like our work, donate on Patreon, whatever, all that stuff, and it's like they get incentivized financially as well.
Here's why: is that if they don't do it, then more people are going to do it.
Yeah. Right, I already watched the Zeppela video. Let's see, this is the, which one's this? Oh, okay. Let's see this real quick. Person to clear Dragon Song's Reprise Ultimate have emerged. Congratulations. For those of you who are still progressing, good luck as you continue pushing on at your own pace. We'd like to add something about third-party tools, so please read our next tweet. We've noticed some discussions about the validity of third-party tools and would like to reiterate our stance against the usage of such tools. We ask that you check the following statement by the producer and director Naoki Yoshida. Thank you. Which is a massive... That's his face. Imagine he cheats to tell you what to do in fights and then cry when people tell them they are cheaters. But learning is too hard. You probably haven't cleared anyways, so you are just something AFK in Limsa. Boo-hoo, Lemao. Post brought to you by the console something legend game. It's a Laracing player. Teams using wands to track the trajectory of certain decks. This is a problem. It's Laracing players who won't be able to and even enter the ultimate criticize those that beat it. It's irrelevant, I think, but yeah. Your comment made me backspace, lol. I truly don't give a shit about it because I don't have access to it, but here I was, about to comment on something I felt something about for no logical reason. The real What? Congrats Neverland, but your world first footage had ACT callouts, so we'd be suspending you. Yeah. ACT calls for a brand new ultimate prog. Ha, you. Yeah, there are ACT callouts for a brand new ultimate prog. You guys congratulate TPS every time. 14 and Yoshi P, congrats, you are the best TPS. Anyone other gets world first? On Yoshi P, we are mad about third party. Is the Pyro one? Was that the Pyro one? Yeah, Pyromancer. Okay.
Would you look at that? Hey yo, what the fuck? Oh! Ew! Dude! Look at that.
I find it funny how people are saying, no way this is a Gnosis. Come on, it's not even... No way Discord could be third party. LOL, that means Windows is third party. Kek, actually yes. Again, like... I don't like what Xeno says because, like, yeah, Discord is third party, but no one talks about those. Everyone's talking about in-game add-ons. Like, they're also called third-party tools. Obviously, it's not like, you know, they can't prevent you from being on your cell phone in a Skype chat while fucking raiding, calling it a third-party tool. Like, that's not what this is about. Your dick is a third-party tool used for jerking off, watching other people have sex. Better ban you from the game too. Yeah, basically. I hope every single WoWFG streamer bro gets banned. Every single one of them. They are ruining it. No, because they're banning long-time Final Fantasy streamers actually. Twitch is laughing at us. WoW players are mocking us and holding their add-ons over us. It's over. In order to float items, you must use a third-party tool. In order to float items? Going around and screenshotting people's homes that have impossible item floats. Both ways. Okay. I'm going to crash the FF14 housing scene along with cringe clubs again. Like, sure, whatever. Yeah, the pyromancer. Mr. Happy One doesn't make a single reference to or even acknowledge the shit show that is going on. Doesn't even play with add-ons. No ACT even off stream. Don't ask how I know. 14 community gave him over $100,000 donos, I guess, on GoFundMe. Is unironically friends with Yoshi P on the personal level and the business level on account of him being Yoshi P and Square Enix's agent. Never missed any streamer event, always invited no matter what, never missed a media tour once. Helped Yoshi P and Square Enix catch the internal infamous Blue VR leaker and got that N-word sued. 5chan is ignoring him and aren't even reporting him because he's literally an honorary Jap to them. He is ignored by /V because everyone wants to go after Arthur's, Pyromancer, and Xenophlex. Every now and then I catch myself about to say some dumb shit about e-celebs or Parcetranis. I stop myself by just looking at some fat VR asses for a bit. Maybe that was the God. Just like Israel. Yeah, must be. Anyways, I'm going to hawk through Twitch stream this Friday because the people who run the nightclubs have a ton of mods, and I will be taking action accordingly. Oh my god. Bro, just own up to it. Apologize, move on. You're not allowed to psychoanalyze me and make fun of me online because I have mental problems. It's the chat's fault that I fell for the bait and had a tard rage. No, it's your fault. You are the one who fell for it. Yes, you are. You're on the internet, and yeah, I am allowed to psychoanalyze and I'm allowed to make fun of you. And not that I want to, but like, yeah. I was raided by people who don't usually watch me, and they were here specifically to mentally torment me. You're on the internet, bro. Like, yeah, just own up to it. Apologize, move on. Honestly, I don't even think he had much to apologize for. It's like, yo, like at most he'll be like, sorry for my outburst yesterday, man. I was not in the right headspace. Fuck it, shit happens. And I'm unbanning some people that I shouldn't have banned. Some shit. Still can't get over that he actually compared streamers being banned for add-ons to the civil rights and women's suffrage movement. You gotta be absolutely mental to do that. I don't know what this is. Okay, guys, he's taking the high road.
This is an MMO. You don't need 120 FPS. You're single. You don't need anything more than a bike. Why do you own a car?
I mean, I kind of find it funny what he said. I don't like. It's not the best comparison, but it's pretty funny. Imagine playing a male character unironically. Please keep going so you can get your account banned. Oh god. Why not a warning? Do people really think a 10-day ban after years of calling things gray areas and just don't harass people is an appropriate response? Don't come in saying they have the right of it and no one cares or argues they are within their rights. I'm not even saying let them have the tool still. I'm simply saying that pulling them to Gale, warning them, and then them go when they remove the offending material accomplishes the same effect without making half the user base angry that people are being pulled mid-prog for sudden bans. Please don't reply with no thought comments. Actually think about the question I'm presenting and give real reasons why a ban is better than a warning in this scenario. It's against the rules, no sympathy. Post missed the point entirely. So, the reason why I think 10-day ban is too much. For most streamers, it's just like a nice little break. But in my opinion, 10-day break, 10-day ban is too much. I think 3-day ban at most. The mid-prog thing kind of makes sense if it was caught mid-prog because they wouldn't want those people who they're gonna ban anyways to accomplish what they're trying to do while using the add-on. So that makes sense to me that they would do it mid-prog. I mean, if they could catch him before the prog, that would be fine. But usually, that's when people use the add-ons. It's mid-prog. Why not a warning? I'm pretty sure they gave warnings since forever. They made their opinion on add-ons overall pretty clear, and I mean, let's see. Shadowbringers didn't even have an Ultima, I believe, right? It was only Stormblood. There's no level 80 Ultima. So since Stormblood, so you had what, 3.5 years, up to 4 years ago. So 2018, when the last Ultima was released. I'm pretty sure there was some debacle there. I heard there was some talks about the add-ons in 2020. Actually no, Alexander was 2020, I believe, right? But it was for level 70. This is they just skipped the level 80, but Alexander is for 70 if I'm not mistaken. Not sure. It's 70 or 80, whatever. Either way, the problem is every time they release an ultimate, they put a lot of effort into it, and also right now I would say the problem not so much is the ultimates. The problem is also the PvP. The PvP I would say is what really started this problem with people hacking and using certain add-ons in PvP, and then it's just the ultimate was kind of like the final straw because it really devalues the effort that devs put, and I can see it from the lead designer to like want to, hey, my guys worked so hard for this shit, lost sleepless nights, they worked extra to bring you all this shit, and you guys are ruining it, and you are really like making my team demotivated to make more shit like this. So I can see that being one reason. Nipples. Oh my, is this how the rest of the cheaters think as well? Is this their train of thought that somehow having to cheat to clear content somehow makes them better players? The RCP message didn't even seem like it mentioned ACT stuff at all. Maybe you should read it again. I just missed it completely. So why do you? Again, you missed the point. Because I can. It's not a matter of need, it's a matter of want. Honestly, I think we all just need to take a step back. Whatever. Community has been getting so toxic lately, we can argue. Anything that becomes popular will become toxic because you're gonna have more and more bad apples. I'm gonna watch this.
So I feel bad for this guy. So they basically ban this motherfucker and then say, but we like the mod though. Yoink fucking bullshit.
Like, it is funny to laugh at the guy, right? Yeah, sure, right? But this is like the same thing. Like, it's like, that's funny in the same way that like kids laugh at like a fat person falling down stairs or something like that. Like, why ruin the guy's whole prog for something?
I think again, like the ban during Prague, I think is.
I never use ACT. Never.
If they went on with the ban after the GM intervened.
I'm using Excel spreadsheet, but the great man has spoken again.
Good luck using Excel spreadsheet like you're using ACT.
Even Excel spreadsheet is part of third party, so it's no longer okay. Okay. I'm sorry guys, I will let you go. Thank you for your effort, Mr. Prop.
I'll be reporting every. Okay, that's the. There's a war between actual raiders. And FF14 static is all about making friends, real connection, enjoying our time together, spent together, enjoying progging new raids, playing casual new games outside of raids, and sharing jokes about which tower people will go in during the Sarthordan phase. We have each other's back, and that's the most important thing. Or so I thought. Things changed when the Yoshi P secret plugin task force attacked. Thanks to Yoshi P and his holy crusade against the use of third-party illegal plugins, I now know the truth about my static members. They were never my friends at all. I now know they were using plugins to find out just exactly how long was left on my Radiant Shield buff, just how long was left on that card the Astrologian just gave me. They were even looking at my damage numbers. Such unforgivable acts cannot go unanswered. Thanks to Yoshi P, I now know that an FF14 raiding static is about making friends, friends who don't use plugins, friends who don't use ACT, friends who care. Consider this my resignation. Sure. I mean, I literally got nothing for this guy. That's like he's in a world of his own. All right, that that was pretty good. The third part to instance. Yeah. I think people are like legit shitting their pants over nothing. Because okay, here's my actual thoughts. You can easily hide those add-ons while playing. Why are people not doing that? Why are streamers not hiding the add-ons if they know they're illegal and they know if they hide them they will never get in trouble? Why are they not doing it? It's simple, right? It's an ego thing, right? It's straight up an ego thing. There's honestly, it would be more viewable without all the add-ons telling you what to do. Actually, would be. People can see more of the game if there are no add-ons. My add-ons block like this part of my screen, this like the bottom third of the screen. I almost never look at it because that's all my add-ons. Like I look at it, but it's like I can't see through it. It's all like bars and like add-on stuff. I can't see anything. So and like at the top there's the some information and like literally 1/3 ish on like 1/2 of whatever's remaining, 1/2 of the screen, which is approximately what's remaining, is literally what I can see that is happening in front of me, while the viewer can see a lot more because I'm hiding my add-ons. I don't know. I just if they're angry that people got banned during raid prog, that's something else. But if they're angry over the whole like banning over add-ons, I don't think they are in the right. Yeah, on to the next one.